Morning, everyone. This is Trend Follower this side, and it's that time of the week. This week, we'll plan again for what we think can happen next week. Our trade plans last week worked amazingly. That's what happens when the bias is correct. We were extremely well biased against NZD and AUD, Australian dollar, and that's what happened. So let's start with some of the recap. We said NZD should go down. They did manipulate in the first part of the week, which made sense a little bit. The market was waiting for Trump to say something, I guess. But then the true picture came out. So one thing I said in the video last week uh, is GBPNZD. I really care about these zones, which was right here, right? So where is this? Right here. So I deleted those zones because they were not fresh anymore, but right here, right? And look at this move. So what I mean to say is like you don't have to like trade these zones as blindly. You can use your own system on top of it. But these zones are damn powerful. And more importantly, according to the trend also. So what you can really do is like look for price action there. That's what I do, right? So GBP NZD, awesome move from there. The next one we talked about, I think was NZDJPY, I guess. Yeah. So this was the zone I really cared about, and look exactly from that zone, you got that move down, right? Uh, so there sometimes I put limit orders, sometimes I wait for price action. Uh, but like that's another day, another video most probably. But NZDJPY, this was the zone we mentioned, and it really went down. Then NZD I was saying that I think they're making this trend line and a break and then come back would make that move. So this was the trend line they completed and then moved down. NZD CAD, right? Uh, GBPCHF was beautiful. I did mention many times in the previous videos, not just once, that I really care about this zone. And when this deck gets tested, that's when I will short NZDCHF and maybe GBPCHF also. But that's when NZDCHF tested and went down, right? So that's the power of planning, guys. Everything I say here is for a reason. Uh, Please keep note of things that I say. They all add up. Yes, some may be wrong, but overall, you will get 3 RR at least from the right ones. The last one is my favorite too, which is NQ Futures. This was the zone we mentioned. I did mention this was the zone I did mention on NQ Futures that really what I want to see if if this really works in my favor is ES and NQ testing this zone together. I don't know why that zone got deleted, but there was a zone here. And they both tested the zone together, and this was the perfect move, right? So again, great week last week, I would say. Amazing week. So let's continue it, right? So for this week, we'll first go through the news happening this week, as always. That's what I do to see where the volatility can be. And the most important news that pops out to me is NZD news, which is official cash rate statement. And interestingly, it's at the first half of the week. So that makes it very interesting. So that means either they manipulate at this time or continue, right? Now the question is, which one do you think? What is your reasoning of thinking that they will come on, they will manipulate or they will continue? I will explain my thing, my reasoning, my logic, but NZD is the most important currency next week. Then USD has a lot of news, CPI, right? And then later PPI. So USD would be the second most. There are FOMC minutes also, and speakers from JPY and Australian dollar. So that's good because we wanted a little bit of JPY also. I will explain later. But USD and NZD are the top one. The third one would be GBP because of its GDP news, and the next one would be Australian dollar and JPY. Okay, so let's first concentrate on NZD and all that. But before even going further, let's focus first on futures, what we think, why we think, what can happen. Okay. So as I'm sorry for this, but as we go, I will clean some things so that it's cleaner. But the point here is for futures, the interesting part is DXY showed its hand, right? Which makes sense. DXY just broke down, right? So now there are two things that can happen, right? One, there are multiple reasons why should you not short here. Okay, first, like basically why you shouldn't think USD will act weak. Will it act weak right like at the end of the week or in between week? Yes, possible. But at the start of week, no. Let's not think that USD will act weak. Why? There are multiple reasons. One, you're bouncing from a good daily demand areas, right? Two, if you look at the weekly candle, it has a long wick, right? Three, risk to reward. There's not much risk to reward here, right? So in either case, if you care about risk management or candle structure, all that kind of thing, it just doesn't make sense. So what makes sense right now is there are two zones that really matter. One is, let's say because of this candle, it really goes up, right? So what can happen is it can come here, break this weekly high, and then come here, right? So it can do that. I would not keep that thought outside. Like, I don't think it's out of picture. It can happen. So what I think there are two zones, two or I should say few conditions here. One is I will not short it here. I will not think about USD weakness. Where I will be really interested is you can see what has happened, like even with this candle, is where is this? Yeah. So it has formed a weekly supply here. This weekly supply, this whole block, right? So the probability of breaking this weekly supply is low, right? Whenever these weekly supply gets formed, our primary area of interest is obviously this weekly, previous week low. Okay, this one. Then this one is in this case where it should have bounced. So this is area of interest and this, right? So with this weekly candle, I have three options. Concentrate on these two or this one. What I'm choosing is I will focus on this zone, right? So my first focus would be on this zone, and then I will focus on here. I explained the zone last week, if it ever reaches here. But my first focus would be here, right? And what will I do here, guys? What will I do here? With USD, you should know which is the strongest pair with USD, right? With USD, the strongest pair is Euro USD. So that's where I will focus on when it comes here. Okay. So that's DXY futures. I think the probability is that it may just so it kind of has this trend line. It may just break a little bit of that trend line and go down, right? I That's one case. The second is this weekly level. So from here, right? So I think this week one of these two things can happen. If they form an equal high, then they want this next week. But I think the probability of this is higher. And depending on the price action here, we can say will it come back down or not. I would assume that I never trust weekly bottoms when they have like any bottom when they have long wicks. So eventually, I think we can come back here before going further up, I should say. Yeah. But we'll see what the price action says. So that's DXY. And now let's go to Australian dollar. So Australian dollar, there's a reason I'm giving that. According to the data I have, I feel like the strongest name, right? The weakest name is uh, NZD, and the second is Australian dollar, right? And no points for guessing with these candles, right? But I think what I'm trying to say here is whenever these type of candles happen, where is this? Whenever these type of candle happen, this long, you have two options. One, you play reversal, let's say. Two, you let it be, right? Three, you play this. In my point of view, this is just one weekly candle, right? On USD. You don't know if it can come. Sometimes manipulations happen because of these candles. And look at those equal highs, right? So, what can happen is if it makes a single neck candle, small candle, right? It can come back up, right? Because of those equal highs. So manipulations happen like this. But your best guarantee of it coming down, continuing down, if this candle comes back here, the neck candle, and then comes, right? So I will play that. Like I will try to see if that happens. That's what I want to see. That what if it comes back here in this zone. So here what I'm really interested in is this weekly zone. So on Australian dollar I don't find any, like, yeah, there are zones, these there's this daily zone and all, but they're not good in Australian dollars, which means odd USD is not the one I'm willing to play right now according to what I see. But later in the week I'll have to see what happens, right? So now let's go to NZD, right? NZD has clearly, the good thing of NZD is it has shown its hand that it is this extended pattern. So what may happen is you may see something like this. Again, what we'll do is we'll try to, the reason I'm showing NZD is just to show this pattern here. What we'll do is we'll map it out with EURNZD most probably. So let me first quickly clear this out. So in here, all I care about is this, these zones. And I really care about this. And one more was here. So when it comes here in these zones, and there's not like there is, as I said, so if I go to 12 hours, right? So there's this huge fair value gap. So what I want here is it comes in this zone. Now this is a huge zone, right? So what you will do is you will try to reduce it, right? So here, where did that go? I saw, which one was that? Yeah. So what I want is at least first break this to cause to manipulate, and ideally break this, right? So what I really want is here, break this, come in this zone, right? And when it comes in that zone, this one is this line, right? So it comes down like that. That's when it comes in the zone, guys. I really want this area to be tested ideally, but this is where I will focus on EURNZD and GBPNZD, mainly EURNZD because even GBPNZD is fine, but Euro is stronger, so that would be ideal. The second one, the second idea would be right here, right? So this doesn't help with my risk to reward. So if I come, so I will have to watch the price action here, to be honest. If there is SMT with Australian dollar and all that. But what I really like is these weekly areas because this has formed a nice supply. Let me just remove this and I will tell you why. I just saw something. So you see, this has such a long way. Whenever things have long wicks, it will attract, they act like magnets a little bit. So instead of lower areas, I will try to focus on upper areas. So that's why I remove that. When it comes here, that's where I would be really interested in NZD, right? Now this is one of the important ones. With JPY, what is happening is in many names, and you can look for yourself. I think it's USDJPY and EUROJPY most probably, even GBPJPY and CADJPY. This red candle that we have on weekly is the first red candle. So whenever there is this one red candle, you have to be open-minded. You just cannot be like, oh, it's down, it's going down. Like for example, I will show examples like CADJPY, right? It's just first red candle. So you cannot be like, oh, it's now it will just continue. No. Most probably what's happening is either it's manipulation and you just break everything, right? And I don't think that's the environment right now. But one thing is for sure that there can be a bounce, right? So with first red candle, I would never trust it. Now, I already would not trust with first red candle, but what in addition to that, what's happening is this isn't, this just came in weekly supply, right? So weekly supply. So I want to see, honestly, again, the same logic as I showed on USD. The risk to reward here is just not there. I want to see what happens when it comes back here. Ideally, I want it to come back here and then I go long. Right now, I wouldn't touch it at least till it comes here, right? So I want it to come here and then we see. Come here or here, right? And then we see. So my point is I will watch for price action here or here and then we see, right? But there's a difference to, and that's why I don't think JPY is done. I'm just saying it needs a pullback a little bit or a pause. And then one of the big reason is these equal highs on CHF, which I showed, which I wanted to show definitely on this video, in this video, and where I think that means that whenever we are taking the trade for risk off right now, then CHF is your best bet, and that's where my focus would be. So I want to see say that I want to focus on CHF when it comes in this area or this area, right? Which is just the weekly supply. So there, I want to see if we have a weekly demand, but we don't. Sorry, a daily demand or 12-hour demand, but we don't. So what I would just see is watch for price action. What because one thing, if you can see this, where did that go? In ICT world, I think I'm right. I may be wrong. I'm not an expert on ICT, but this is like a breaker. Point being, in supply demand world, this is a strong supply. And when you come back here, it should act like demand, ideally, if we are really bullish, right? So that's my point on this, that mainly what I want to show is that on JPY, we can get a bounce, okay, like a pullback, bounce, whatever. On CHF, we will see continuation pattern most probably, but we'll let a pullback happen because if JPY is pulling back, ideally CHF should also. Uh, on NZD and Australian dollar, yes, they are the weakest. Yes, it can continue, but with such big weekly candle, I will wait for it to come back in the zones before shorting it or longing it, depending on the currency. So let's go. These are in priority orders. I think Euro NZD clear, and this I will do fast. I will really do fast because I showed the crux of the video, right? Which is why the bias and everything. So again, as I showed, I wanted to come back. There are few things that I would like to happen for it to happen. So what I want is either it shows some bullish price action or shows that it can hold this area, or but ideally I would like it to just come back here. Now this zone is very powerful. It's under weekly demand zone, so I would love for it to come back here. And because of NZD news, what I would really like to see is that if you have such a big move, most probably it's happening due to rate statement, right? Let's say that is the perfect answer for a manipulation. Now, keep in mind that when it comes down here, let's say, let's just assume that it's a big red candle. If it's a big red candle on Monday, let's say, example sake, then okay, then I don't think, then I can really take this trade because that's manipulation for sure. But let's say Monday has a red candle, Tuesday has another red candle. We are in an area where we should just be safe. So let's say Monday red candle is like this, Tuesday is like this. So when I take this trade, my target would be this here, not the top. Right? I wanted to clarify that. But on Euro NZD, I really love this zone. So I think this can happen if it comes like this, right? So that's Euro NZD. On GBP NZD, I'm just showing this so that it makes sense. But don't I should say I would prefer Euro NZD over GBP NZD. Here, what I want is price coming below this, right? That would be the extreme one. If we, of course, it can bounce from here and here. This is where price action has to be like you need to be very careful with price action here. But here you can almost blindly take it, right? With stop loss below this or below here, right? So GBPNZD, I want price to come here to blindly trade it. Otherwise, I will watch for price action here uh, or here. So my favorite would be if it comes in these regions. One more here would be, where did that go? Where is this? So one more line on weekly demand because all these have formed weekly demand. Uh, so most probably, as you can see, this whole area is just lovely. It's just lovely. So if it comes down here, this is my like, oh, I have to play this. There are times when I don't care about any price action. I just trade because just the risk to reward and the area has such high confluence. And this is the one where I think it has very, very big confluence, right? GBP Australian dollar. Again, this is the weekly demand. What I really want to see again here is price coming in this region. So if you see this particular one, the only downside about this is there's an 8 hour, right? So I think what price can do this price action, 8 hour, will attract the price down. And then if the movement of price is fast, doesn't mean you can trade this. It can come to this because this 8 hour is unmitigated. So it hasn't been tested basically at all. So I would believe that it can come down here. And that's where I will focus on playing along, right? But on this one in particular, right? Let's temporarily um, where did this go? So 8 hour unmitigated was here. Yeah. So on this, the daily candle, which should hold, I'll just use this, is this one. Okay. So ideally, I would like to see where the price comes, but the most important zones uh are this, basically this and this level on level. So I think this overall this zone should hold this particular one, but GBP is weak, so I do think it can pull back a little. What is good is this is a weekly, has clearly formed a weekly demand. So price action, whenever it comes below this, guys, below this one, uh, this line, which is on weekly this line, uh, start watching the price action, right? Uh, and most probably this one should really matter, right? So I would assume that price action here should just take it back up, right? That's what I would assume. Euro Australian dollar, oh yeah, this one I really love because this is daily demand within a weekly demand, right? So and a clean one, right? So this zone here is my favorite zone here, right? This one, extreme demand. And let me just remove this temporarily. So this zone here, it's my favorite zone on daily. Why? Because it has weekly coverage, right? And if you look at, there was one more, 8 hour. Oh no. Okay. So the only thing is, again, this one is unmitigated, not tested. So ideally, we will test this and go up. So your favorite part here would be you put an entry here, your stop loss here, and get an upside move. So that's what I think. Now, obviously, you can say, oh, it's never gonna come here. Yeah, it cannot. Maybe it doesn't. I don't care. I will play when it comes there. Okay. Now, NZD as we said, CHF is your best bet for risk off because of equal highs, right? So on CHF, what we have is we have this daily zone. So if it comes there, yes, again the weekly supply rule. So if it comes here, this daily zone is just beautiful. Why? Because let me just clean it up so that temporarily, and then I will just undo it. Look at this. So you have, and I did mention this chart pattern, right? That I think it should continue down. So now you have this weekly supply areas which have these lines, and then it should have bounced here and it didn't, right? So that all combination is happening in a daily supply, right? This here. So this whole zone is just beautiful, right? Now the only downside here is that you have equal highs also. So what I will do in these cases is find a candle which covers all that. And when I see that, I see this candle and you get this one, right? So if you get an entry here, it would be this, something like this. Okay. So that's what I think about NZDCHF. Now let's go to NZDJPY. The same look, which is weekly supply formed everywhere. Here, I don't like about NZD, CHF, and JPY both is like I don't like when they are candles without wick, right? Or you can say I love when they're candles without wick because I this forms a great trade like this, right? So I will wait for this area to be tested. If there's true manipulation, I would not be surprised that it comes here. And then maybe it does this, right? Or it does this. I don't know. Point being, I will try to capture this move, right? So on NZD CHF, I think what you have here is something like, let's say, uh, this is one, and this would be your stop loss. So what you have here is something like this, or your entry can happen somewhere here, right? So something like this, right? So that's what I think about NZD JPY. Ideally, I would like to see NZD CHF is the one that I would short instead of NZDJPY. Because if all of this is happening due to risk off, which I think it is, because if you think about it, there is no other news on CHF or JPY right now. So except the governor is speaking there, I think, but someone from BOJ is speaking. So I would assume that CHF can continue the trend down. Okay. So on Australian JPY, again, I think all of this have formed a vacuum. I would let price come here and then we'll short it, right? In here, there are zones, there are clean zones in between, like this 8 hour uh, and there was a 4 hour which I would just ignore honestly. For the swing trades, yes, it can cause a little bit of movement if you want to scalp it, but for a swing trade, I would like just remove it. Yeah. So for a trade, I would like a better zone. And I think about this, right? Let's say after this daily candle, the probability of a full green is like a bullish green candle is low, right? So, but if it forms a candle here, then you get a bounce. So maybe if you're covering all this candle, so you form a daily demand here, right? So then that means you cannot short on this area, right? So what I think is that's what can happen is that uh, the rate statement creates this whole manipulation, which causes this whole move up. When it will come in this area, that's when I was short. So I think what can happen is this rate statement forces price action to come in this, not this one, this particular weekly supply, and you get this movement here. All right. So that's AUD JPY, Australian dollar JPY. Similarly on AUD CHF. Here, one different thing is there's not like a vacuum here, and the vacuum has been not vacuum, but the weekly block has been tested. So again, AUD JPY when it comes in this region, then I will short AUD CHF. Keep in mind, that's the theory. Whenever something comes, whenever it's in a point of interest in JPY, instead I will short CHF's names, right? Because CHF is more stronger than JPY. With ES and NQ, right now I don't have any weekly zones. I don't have any clean daily zones. Yes, there are gap areas, like if you see this whole gap area. But whenever the gap area is so big, they act like vacuum, and that's why I would like to stay away from these names right now, unless, and that's a big one, it comes. Why did that move? Yeah. Uh, is this no? This is yeah. So unless this happens, right? So this is a gap, right? So when it comes here, right here, let's change the color. So gap would be closed, right? So on this guy NQ, right? So what I want is after gap close, I don't care about gap close, but price comes back to this weekly supply. So there are 2 points of interest here. One is because this weekly supply has been formed, but this has been tested. So you can argue that, okay, there may be some reaction here. But what I really care about is this one right here, right? So within that, the zone is the same, but now we'll extend it because this. So what I want is price action coming here. I think I would start watching when this gap close happens, and sorry, when this gets tested. So I think what you can see is on weekly this, and this. That's what I want on NQ. On ES, it's a little different picture. I think there's a trend line here. So I would hope ES doesn't close the gap, right? So ES should be here when NQ is there. That's what I would hope. But that would be my focus on ES and NQ. Lastly, there are other names that I just quickly will go through it. Whenever there is a long weekly candle, what I want to see is maybe see this price action is happening when first time GBPUSD has tested this weekly area, but this doesn't mean it can not go down. I think what can happen is it can go this way, and one of the reasons is DXY has formed a lovely 8 hour demand right here, right, right here. So I think DXY would like to at least test this zone back. So I think what you will see on GBP USD is a bounce and then come down and then later maybe come up, because I do think it needs to test this area uh, again, but it may happen that it comes further down before going up. That may happen. It's not a clean chart, but I just wanted to show that when USD uh, comes in that zone, you can focus on that. But right now, I personally don't. I think I will just trade GBP USD and GBP CAD on the long side instead when DXY comes in the zone that I mentioned. On GBP CAD, I don't know what my primary focus here will be. Like, I do think again it can come down, but point which I want to really mention is a zone that I really care about is this zone here. This particular zone is very important, and I would request you guys to mark it. And the reason is it's below this weekly or monthly level, and this monthly level matches with previous month high here. And a monthly level here, and there's this daily demand here. So you have a whole combination of weekly, previous week high. This should a previous week high, a monthly, and let me show you my, yeah. So this, this is what I'm talking about. So this line matches with two monthly levels, and there is a daily zone below it, and there is a, I think not weekly per se, but there's a weekly level here. So if you see this, this whole movement, so this matches with this. So this whole area is extremely, extremely important. And if it comes down, you will see this small vacuum being formed with almost equal high. So I think you can see this, right? Continuing with the trend. That's where my where a lot of focus would be if GBP CAD comes there. Okay. Uh, Euro USD was beautiful last week. I got a chance to get into it, but that doesn't mean I traded the whole move. Honestly, I just traded till here, which makes me sad sometimes, but it's what it is, right? So on Euro USD, I would like to see price action coming back in this zone here, right? So this area should hold. And I think what you can see is this move. I would just point out one thing. Be careful because of this weekly zone. But right now, what that means is don't short it. Or maybe like depending on how you want to trade it. But what I really care about is right now monthly and weekly trend is damn up. So I would at least wait for weekly weakness to think about uh, uh, a whole move down. Right now, I think this zone will hold. Of course, my target will be changing because of how this has rejected, but I do think right now this doesn't look as rejection at all. So this should hold and maybe we come back here, right? So Euro USD, that's what I think. EUROCAD, again, this area is beautiful. This is the zone I will start watching price action, and I think this up move is very good because if it holds right now, most probably it's holding this region. If it holds, which I think it must, most probably, I think we are coming back here, right, with these equal highs here, right? So what I would like to see is this action, but what I'm sure about higher probability is it comes here and then you go up, right? That's EuroCAD. Now CAD JPY, this is the reason I wanted to show it. Uh CAD JPY has this long wick on daily, right? So I and CHF showed that what did CHF show? Equal highs. So CHF cannot shouldn't basically show weakness as such in the coming weeks. So what I think with this long wick, if we get a movement in this vacuum here and this daily zone here, what would happen is it will come in this weekly order block, weekly block, right? I don't know order block, but weekly block. Now, what I would like to see is price action coming here and coming in this zone. If it comes here, right. And if you want the most ideal version, then it also breaks this weekly level. If it does all this, that's a good move back to the downside. Will it come back here? I don't know, but it will, this week will definitely attract price a lot, right? So what I would like to see on CAD JPY in particular is price action coming in this region. uh, and I will start watching the price action after this region. Okay, that's my plan on CAD JPY. Again, when it comes down, comes here, let's say it comes here, that's when I will short NZDJPY. Okay, so GBPCHF, I didn't have much here. There must be a reason the reason I showed I'm showing GBPCHF is because of equal lows here, right? So whenever I mean, CHF comes in the zone or JPY comes in the zone. The names that you can short ideally would be NZDCHF and GBPCHF. Okay. USDJPY, again, I think this one is different. This one is not the first red candle. Uh, it's a continuous downtrend versus something like CADJPY. So USDJPY is better than CADJPY or this. Um, CAD JPY and Euro JPY. But that means that you can short USD JPY. Again, this is the area I really care about. I think that's one that I really care about. But if DXY shows really, really bullishness, I want price action to come here. So this is the extreme zone where I will have my eye on. It's in the weekly block above this weekly high. So I would preferably like to see weekly high being broken. Of course, my the moment I in here would be my alert to watch price action in NZDJPY, but I would preferably like price action to break the weekly high, right here, and then we'll see what happens, right? Depending on how if USD acts weak, strong in the week, that means I will not short it here. I will rather wait for here, or here. But if USD doesn't act very strong, then you can look at it. It depends how the week goes. But again, instead of JPY, my main focus would be CHF. Okay. So that's why USD CHF is more clean. The only thing I don't like about USD CHF is I think it's more cleaner on monthly. Yeah. So it's in monthly demand and you have this equal highs here. So I need more information on this. I don't think this may get broken this week, but I don't think so. What I want to see because of this candle right now, but I think what can happen is something like this and then later, or something like this and then later. And we'll try to capture this move. Again, to reiterate, that's it for this video. But to reiterate, my primary focus would be NZD CHF. Primary would be NZD CHF and Australian dollar CHF and Euro NZD and Euro NZD and Euro Australian dollar. That would be my primary focus. We are biased to the downside, at least till now, for NZD and to the upside for CHF. I hope this made sense. I hope it connects. I hope you have a great trading week, guys. All the best. This is it for this video.